Welcome to the Employee Retention Strategies in the Hospitality Industry session. I'll now turn things over to our presenter.
Good afternoon and good morning to everyone. You're welcome to the presentation on employee retention strategies in the employee industry. My name is Dr. Howard Ogunyaro. I'm a professor with George Brown College in Canada. Any one of you familiar with this terrain? Welcome you all from every part of the world. Different people are in different time zones right now. So it's good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So even as we just go in straight into the presentation. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so looking at employee retention strategies, this was actually my dissertation during my doctoral study at Walden University. And this was pre-COVID. So be rest assured that probably if you're going to take this same kind of research this period, there may be a little bit of difference in the findings. So going forward, the problem statement actually for the research is that the general business problem was that some managers do not understand how to address issues related to employee retention. So some industries have issues, the managers have issues retaining their employees, and the specific problem was that some hotel managers, they lack the strategies to improve employee retention. So they probably have a lot of turnovers, employee turnovers, and do not have the strategies to be able to improve their employee retention. And the purpose of this qualitative single case study was to explore the strategies hotel managers use to improve employee retention. My target population that I used for the study is at that time consisted of 3 hotel managers in one hotel in Abuja, Nigeria, West Africa, who had successfully retained their employees over a period of years. Usually we look at about 5 years. The results of this study could actually lead to positive social change by assisting hotel managers with developing and implementing strategies necessary to retain employees. And I will look at it in this post-COVID period, the purpose of the study could be to actually have more virtual employees, to retain virtual employees and to be able to train them and be able to keep them. I think I will look at it from that angle if it's in post-COVID. So the significance of the research is that the findings of this study might help managers of the hotel industry to identify strategies needed to retain their employees, things that they need to do to ensure that their employees remain in the organization and they do not have to keep changing employees, which is of course very expensive. The results of this study might contribute to the hospitality industry's success by identifying successful practices for the retention of employees. It could also be valuable to hospitality managers by providing insights for developing strategies to retain employees. So the study could actually help managers to be able to develop some strategies in different forms after identifying the reasons why employees are probably leaving the organization. So it will help them to develop some strategies to retain the employees. Also, business managers could use the study to develop strategies to retain employees and reduce the cost of hiring new staff. So business managers in general means in the whole scope of businesses. If you look at entrepreneurs, so it might not just be focused on just the hospitality industry, but other business managers in other sectors can also adopt this study and look at the strategies that they can actually use to retain their employees. And the theoretical framework that was used for the study is the Herzberg et al. Two-factor theory developed in 1959, and which talks about the motivation and the hygiene factors. And the study was able to identify these 2 factors, even as we went on in the study. Next slide, please. So relevant to the study were the motivation factors and the hygiene factors. When we talk about the motivation factors, these are factors that provide job satisfaction in the sense of recognition, promotion, growth. And while the hygiene factors provide dissatisfaction, we could look at the environment, we could look at salary, we look at wages in that part of it. So managers need to understand which of these factors actually affect employees' job satisfaction. Is it the job satisfaction, or is it the hygiene satisfaction, the hygiene factors? So we look at them as these factors are very relevant in all industry. It's not just the hospitality industry, because you have to actually identify what makes your employees stay to hold on to their jobs and perform their jobs properly, and what actually makes them leave. So what are you doing that is right, or what are you providing for them that is right, or that is wrong? So either case, you have to identify what exactly makes the employees happy to be able to give in their best, which of course is going to help you with the organizational growth. Next slide, please. The research question for the research was, what strategies do hotel managers use to improve employee retention? Because we're just trying to find out what kind of strategies are the managers using, or what have they used in the past that has made them to retain their employees. The procedure for the study is that I used the informed consent form, which consisted of the study's background, policies, the procedures, benefits, risk, monetary incentives, and data privacy. These are all information we have to put together to let our participants know how exactly we're going to go embark on the research, so they feel comfortable, responding to us. Participants that I selected were 3 hotel managers in one hotel in Abuja, Nigeria, who had successfully implemented employee retention strategies. So things I didn't put into any consideration were ethnicity and gender requirements. So everyone was eligible to participate in the study. I didn't give any kind of barriers to the criteria. So it's left to you when you want to select your participants, what you want to, the kind of barriers you want to put, or what you want to add, or what you want to take out, depending on what you want to get out of your research. So in analyzing the data, I use methodological triangulation that includes data from the interviews of the participants and supporting data from the internal company documents. I was able to get the company the hotel that I used, to give me access to their internal documents. I also analyzed the data from the semi-structured interviews for common themes, how to identify the themes that are common, what are all the employees saying. I created a folder that I labeled Employee Retention Study, and subfolders for between P1 through P3, because this is just to identify the participants and to keep them anonymous. Next slide, please. So the findings of the research, 4 themes were identified: work conditions and employee welfare, remuneration and compensation, training and career development, reward and recognition, which are some of them are we have the motivational factors and the hygiene factors. The reward and recognition is for the motivational factors. The first thing to emerge was work conditions and employee welfare, which is still part of our motivational factors. So we look at the work conditions. How are people, how comfortable are they in their work conditions, in their work environment? What's happening there? What are they being offered? Also, their employee welfare. Welfare has to do with a lot of benefits, a lot of their salaries, their maybe insurance, their maybe some other benefits, housing. It could be a health insurance. It could be dental, vision, all of that. So they looked at all that. So, and a conducive environment that is being created. The second thing was the remuneration and compensation. How are people being compensated? Is it in proportion to the work that they provide or not? Okay, next slide, please. The third thing we actually identified was the training and development, career development. So some employees feel they're not properly trained and they feel there is no career growth. And some feel maybe there's some career growth that is being provided. So that's why they're staying. Because in most part of the hospitality industry, you look at it in some countries, especially the developing countries, you find that most people that are in that sector actually not well trained, they're not well educated. So they just want to be there to kind of like either because they need a job or because they just want to use it to as a passing phase to their career development. That's their main career, or because they want to go back to school. So these are things that employees look at. So those are things that we're able to identify. The fourth thing is a reward and recognition. Are the employees being rewarded? Are they being recognized? Are they being promoted? Is there any form of motivational benefits that they get for being the best staff? Or, are there some kind of policies in place, like maybe every month you have the best employee of the year and things like that. So the study was able to indicate that hotel managers could improve employee retention by implementing strategies based on the Herzberg two-factor theory that we talked about, which is the motivational and the hygiene factors. Next slide, please. So the interpretation of the themes, the 4 themes that were identified, as we mentioned before: work conditions and employee welfare, remuneration and compensation, training and career development, reward and recognition. So based on these themes, they emerged from the participants' responses. The Herzberg two-factor theory was actually helpful regarding the use of a combination of retention strategies to improve employee retention. So the theory was actually beneficial to the research. So I was able to put together these factors, and they were able to fall into both of the categories, the motivational and the hygiene factors. So the limitation was just that it was only the hotel managers working in the hospitality industry in Abuja, Nigeria. So looking at it, you could actually expand your scope if you want to go into such research in the future. So the participants were identified via surveys, potentially limiting the generalizability of the research. So I recommend that a manager should design a communication and motivation strategy to retain employees and consider the benefits offered to employees. Sorry, I have a cold. It's kind of very cold here. So managers should design some form of communications to their employees and be able to motivate them, to retain them. They should consider the benefits that they offer to employees. Also, now we look at in this period of the post-COVID, a lot of businesses are suffering right now. So, like I said, it might be a different recommendation this time around, because if organizations are not financially stable, will they be able to offer their employees more benefits? So the social change implications for positive social change includes increased job stability, thereby improving employee retention and economic prosperity for the communities. So the communities benefits from job stability. Families are happy, people are gaining more employment, and they're remaining in their organizations. Managers in the hospitality industry may also use the study results to gain knowledge and a better understanding of strategies that they need to retain their employees. So thereby they're creating job stability and security for their employees. Managers in the hospitality industry will also use these findings to enhance job creation and improve the capabilities of the workforce by retaining the employees. So they can actually use this to ensure that more jobs are being created and they have more employees that they are being retained in the organization. Next slide, please. So in the research, these are some of the references I used. So if you want to have access to it. I mean, you help them there. The slides are actually available. So my final remarks are just I'm going to say that, like I said from the beginning, that employee retention strategy in the hospitality industry is not limited to the employee, is not limited to the hospitality industry. This is a study that can actually be used widely. So we actually have the okay, sorry, somebody's sending something. So
yes.
So this study can actually be used by other business owners in other sectors. So it's not just limited to the hospitality industry people. So every other organization can use it, and it can be modified to suit your research and to suit the question that you're asking. They said what service was used to obtain the data. I actually used semi-structured interviews, and I used the internal document to be able to get data for my research. Does that answer your question? So that's the end of it. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. So questions are welcome.
Yes, thank you for sharing your presentation with us. We do have time for more questions, so we ask that you post your questions and comments in the chat, and we can share them with the presenter. Now, we do have another question, and that is, tell us about something you learned throughout this process that surprised you.
Okay, one thing I learned throughout this process that kind of like surprised me was the fact that a lot of managers were not willing to share their data, because they felt, I mean, even though you tell them that everything is confidential, they feel you may use the research to expose their strategies to their competitors, right? So it was kind of like it was a challenge, and I was surprised. I mean, people wouldn't even want to embark on a research based on trust. So, but I was able to break that barrier by like really assuring them that I'm just using this for school, just for my work, and I'm not going to open out there. I'm not going to, like sell out their results or anything they do to their competitors. It wasn't. I wasn't working for their competitors or anything, so I wasn't a threat to them. Relationship. Okay, what I did was I actually had to do a lot of follow-up, a lot of emails, a lot of calls I had to keep. And the fact that, you see, if you look at it, I had a distance issue because I live in Canada and my research was in Nigeria, though that's my home country. So, but I tell you, it still wasn't that easy. But I had to keep calling, I had to keep emailing, so I kept that relationship going even before I started collecting the data. So they felt comfortable with me. I was actually communicating with one major manager who was actually in charge of the other managers. So he was like the head there. So I kept on communicating with him. Even when he doesn't respond to my messages, I just give him some time. We did time difference. We have 6 hours time difference between us, but I kept the pace. I kept that relationship. Someone said I should share my challenges. Oh, challenges were enormous. I had a lot of challenges, both school and during the dissertation. For school, I'll start with the school. First of all, the finances, of course, having to pay, the financial stress there, the financial challenge, that was there. Then secondly, I was of course having to travel most times for the seminars that we're having. So sometimes it could be a challenge because I have a child. My daughter was like about 5 years old. So I had to actually like find a way to get someone to take care of her before I can actually go for my seminars in the US. And basically, my chair was very supporting. That I will tell you, my chair was a very wonderful professor. He was very, very supportive and very accommodating. So that was that for the school. And during the dissertation months, mentally I was stressed because, like I said, if when I was following up during my relationship, building my relationship with the hotel manager, if I don't get response, I feel stressed. when I wake up and I don't see any email, I don't see responses, I feel very stressed. But I kept on going. I didn't let anything like pull me back, right? And I eventually got it. I hope that answers your question, Ulufolake. What types of recognition and awards, this from Blanche Underwood, were given to employees for loyalty? Okay, you say kind of recognition for loyalty could be like the best employee of the month. You can have things like that. And sometimes some, for that particular organization, I'm just telling you from my own research, what I got. So they have things like best employee of the month. They have things like they kind of give you maybe like a meal ticket for maybe a particular day of the week for things like that. Then sometimes they have the employee flash the name of the best employee of the month all through their emails and all of that with their picture, of course, on the they have a big frame of their picture on the entrance of the hotel. So, but that is just for the research I did, the company I used, but the organization I used. But there could be more. Other organizations could employ other kinds of recognition. So you said, I find a lot of employees prefer monetary awards for recognition. So just curious what the hotels offered for the awards. I agree with you. A lot of employees want the monetary recognition because they can use the money for whatever their personal needs are. So like I said, every organization is different. So they all employ different kind of policies and strategies for their recognition policies. So I hope that answers your question. Any other question? Okay, I see something to consulting industry employees prefers cash too. Yes, basically almost all industry prefer cash. Employees prefer cash. So, but like I said, it depends on the policy of the organization. Some don't use cash. They rather use something that is more visible to others to be able to encourage others as well. Because if you give cash, it's just a check, right, to that employee. So it's just the organization and the employee that will probably just know. So, but when you do something that will kind of like showcase the employee to other employees, it kind of motivates them to also like, be better in whatever they're doing so they can get such loyalty rewards.
Outstanding. So once again, we appreciate you sharing your experiences with us today. Are there any additional final remarks you'd like to add?
Okay, final remarks is, as a student, you have a lot of challenges. I want to believe most of us are probably in our dissertation stages or we're still about to get there. Don't let anything pull you back. Get focused and you'll surely get there. Challenges you will see, you will face, but it doesn't mean you stop there. Keep going. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. What matters is how many times you rise. So just keep going and you will get there. Have faith, have hope, and be strong.